Welcome to the New Life Ministries podcast. Today we begin a new series from the book of Proverbs. What does a blessed life look like? Is it where you've been successful in your career, marriage, and health? Most of us would say yes. Proverbs is full of teachings to help us live well, to be successful, but its understanding of blessed might be different than ours. Let's join our service as we begin.
So today we are going to look at Proverbs chapter 1, page 950. And those of you online or watching the recording, welcome. Proverbs chapter 1. These are the Proverbs of Solomon, David's son, king of Israel. Their purpose is to teach people wisdom and discipline, to help them understand the insights of the wise. Their purpose is to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives, to help them do what is right, just, and fair. These proverbs will give insight to the simple, knowledge and discernment to the young. Let the wise listen to these proverbs and become even wiser. Let those with understanding receive guidance by exploring the meaning in these parables and proverbs, the words of the wise and their riddles. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of true knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Today we're going to begin a series on the book of Proverbs. Proverbs are pithy or concise phrases used to teach a lesson. You've heard the phrase, "A stitch in time saves nine." Right? Stitch in time saves nine. That's from the world of sewing. And it means if you tend to a small tear right away, it'll save you from doing a big repair later on. Applied to another situation, it means take care of the problem now, than before it gets big and overwhelming. So Proverbs are these little phrases and riddles designed for us to learn. They teach. And I was drawn to the book of Proverbs. I've been drawn to it for the past couple weeks, maybe months, as I look at the lack of hope that is in our world right now, that feeling of loss and pain that people are expressing everywhere, but also this sense of people not knowing how life was designed to be lived. And I thought this might just be good for us to look at this book and learn. And not just for us, but to learn it to help those people we care about, to help people who are lost or in pain, or just who have seemed to have lost an understanding of how life was designed. How do you live well? How do we live well? Because Proverbs is designed to be accessible to anybody, very accessible. But as often happens, as I've been studying this book and learning its theology and getting into its genre and what the book is trying to do, I've been even more and more impressed at the benefits of understanding this book. This is a phenomenal book. So this is what we're going to look at. And today we're going to look at the first idea, which is having a blessed life. What does it mean to have a blessed life? I had it wrong because I thought, well, a blessed life means things have gone well and the results have been good and people can see that things have gone well. So perhaps a person has been successful in their job, they've had a stable income, they've been blessed that way. Or maybe they've been successful in their marriage, it's gone well, it's lasted a long time, they've been blessed in their marriage. Their kids have arrived at adulthood successfully and they are now living blessed. Or maybe a person's been basically physically healthy their whole life. They've had a blessed physical existence. And this is the person who spends a day at the beach and they're sitting by the fire in the evening and the crazy commotion and chaos of life is in the distance and they pause, they're surrounded by people they love and they think, I'm okay. I've got a blessed life. Things have gone well. That's what I thought being blessed was about. It's not. I was wrong. Or that's not how the Bible sees it. If you look up the word blessed in the dictionary, the standard old dictionary, it'll tell you it's about being made holy. It's exactly. It's about being made holy. It's about being consecrated. It's about somehow being connected to God as you live your life. So Proverbs is designed to help people live a blessed, a holy life, a life that is in step with the ways of the Creator, a life that is lived in unity with God. Because God wants you to have a blessed life. He wants you to live your life with Him. So I regularly get asked some version of, what does God want from me? What would God have me do in this situation? What's the way out of this problem that I am in? That's what this book is about. How do I live well, and how do I live in a way where God is with me or not against me, or where I'm with God? So, Proverbs. I read a great quote from the scholar Bruce Waltke. He said that if a person follows Proverbs, if they live the lessons of Proverbs, that person is also obeying the laws of God, and they are also fulfilling the teachings of the prophets. He said the law doesn't cover every situation and nuance. The law says, thou shalt not steal. And you say, yeah, but what if I have no food and I'm just taking a loaf of bread? The law says, you should not steal. And you say, yeah, but what if it's just a car and I have to steal the car in order to be part of that gang and the gang's going to protect me? Or, thou shalt not steal. But what if I only take from the rich and I give to the poor? Proverbs navigates these things that the law does not get at. So to quote Bruce Waltke, he says, there are details that the law and the prophets cannot quite touch in your living, in everyday life. So you've got someone who can obey the 10 Commandments. That's great. What do they like to live with? Or what do they like to employ? Or how do they manage their affairs or their money? How do they manage their time? How do they govern themselves? That's what Proverbs is getting at. And it wants you to live a blessed life, a life that is one with God. So let's go back to the start. Proverbs verse 1. These are the Proverbs of Solomon, David's son, king of Israel. So this gives us our setting. This is coming from the leader of God's people at the time. These are lessons for God's people. And we know that Solomon had the reputation for being the wisest man who lived. Solomon spoke, according to the book of Kings, he spoke 3,000 proverbs. So this is some of what he came up with or what he gathered. And it says, verse 2, their purpose, the purpose of Proverbs, is to teach people wisdom and discipline or instruction, to help them understand the insights of the wise. Those people who are really smart, what do they know? Their purpose is to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives, to help them do what's right, just, and fair. We all, especially at New Life, we've talked about wanting to live right and just and fair. These proverbs will give insight to the simple, knowledge and discernment to the young. The word simple is important. Some translate it as the uncommitted. This is not someone who can't think deep thoughts. That's not that. This is somebody who is easily influenced, that their mind is not settled and resolved that they are going to follow the Lord. So they are open to good, they're open to influence, they're open to good ideas, they're open to bad ideas. They're not sure if the Lord's way will be their way. So that's what makes them simple. They're easily influenced. They're not settled. And so the purpose of this book is to help them learn what choice is about and to encourage them to be committed to the Lord. With me? So remember, this is about having a blessed life, one that is in step with the Lord in his ways, one that's unified with him. So Tim Mackey from the Bible Project, on his podcast on wisdom literature, points out that with Proverbs, it's like we're back in the Garden of Eden. And in front of us is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In front of us is the tree of the knowledge of right and wrong. And it's time for us to get called up to bat and make our own decision. Regardless of what Eve and Adam did, what will you do? Will you take and eat from the tree with fruit that looks good but ends in death? Or will you do what God says instead? It's your turn to pick. It's your turn to make the decision with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And you think, well, how do I know what the knowledge of evil is if I haven't done it? How do I know what's bad if I haven't done bad? Well, Proverbs is going to spell out in little phrases what the normal result of the two choices will be. This is how it often looks if you follow God's ways, and here's how it often looks if you pick the fruit of temptation. So you are now Adam and Eve in the garden, and it's your time to decide how you will respond. So imagine yourself gathering at the foot of Solomon's throne. He has something he wants to teach God's people. So you're sitting down and you're going to listen. And so let's pick it up, verse 8. And Solomon writes, "My child, listen when your father corrects you. Don't neglect your mother's instruction." So these would be parents who walk with God, who are faithful to the Lord. What you learn from them will crown you with grace and will be a chain of honor around your neck. My child, if sinners entice you, turn your back on them. They may say, "Come and join us. Let's hide and kill someone, just for fun. Let's ambush the innocent. Let's swallow them alive like a grave. Let's swallow them whole like those going down into the pit of death. Think of the great things we'll get. We'll fill our houses with all the stuff we take. Come, throw your lot in with us. We'll share all the loot." My child, don't go along with them. Stay far away from their paths. They rush to commit evil deeds. They hurry to commit murder. If a bird sees a trap being set, it knows how to stay away. But these people set an ambush for themselves. They're trying to get themselves killed. Such is the fate of all who are greedy for money. It robs them of life. So in this little opening, you can see the two options, eh? You've got the pull of the peer group versus the advice of the parents who walk with the Lord. And the peer group says, "Come, be with us, be part of the we, be accepted, have us as friends. We can get easy money just by overpowering people." And to the one who is simple, who is uncommitted to God and his ways, well, there's the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Well, what is that fruit? The fruit is the temptation for greed, the temptation for fast money, regardless of who it hurts. What are you going to do? Greed for money, greed for fast money is a powerful tempter, if you're honest. Well, I am. I was car shopping this week, and I was at a dealership learning about a particular make of car that I don't know much about, and I had a pen and paper, and I was there to learn. And after getting my questions answered, he was showing me various models, and there was one that was, oh, wow, lovely. Like it was a beautiful shape. It made sense to me. The interior was well laid out. It was a beautiful color. And it was $42,000 before taxes. I know. Like that is several thousands of dollars more than I intend to spend on a car. And so I got home and I had taken a picture of the car and I sent a note to my friend and said, "Gee, it's only $42,000 plus taxes." I know. I will bounce a check on over. There's a joke there. So he sent back a link to an online lottery, and he did it as a joke. But I was surprised for the briefest moment how tempting that was. There it is. I just have to press click. It's like, Curtis, sort of shake my head. This is not the way, Curtis. But wow, tempting. So according to the proverb, what's the consequence of the behavior before this young man? It says that if you join in with these guys, they will get caught by their own behavior. They will get themselves killed. It will rob them of life. The proverb doesn't say, oh, they will successfully kill their victim. It says, no, by their evil behavior, they're setting an ambush for themselves, and they don't even see it. So what are you going to do? What will you do with your desire and your temptation for quick money? I have a friend, Steve, who every morning feeds a couple of peanuts to a blue jay. The blue jay sits on the hydro wire and watches for him to come out, and then he brings this little tray of nuts and puts it down there. And I was over there a couple weeks ago. I was surprised how fast the bird went for the peanut, but how it also knew where I was. Because the bird doesn't know me. It knows my friend Steve. And so it knew how, because Steve put the nuts out, and I looked and asked what was going on. I walked just a little bit away, and the bird was there and got the nut. And I was like, that was really fast. And I realized that blue jay had been watching me in every movement I was making, and it decided now it's safe to get the nut. And that distance was about 4 feet. That was it. The proverb says folks who do evil deeds cannot see the trap that is in front of them. A bird is watching and can see the trap that is set or the potential danger. So when you are tempted with fast greed, fast money, did you decide what you're going to do? And it just lets you sit, lets the question sit. God's way would be to use who you are and the skills that you have to contribute to the running of this planet, and that is the basis of your income, and that is how life works. So instead of hurting others, you will bless others. So what we do with Proverbs, with any proverb, is we ponder the choice. When have I seen this happen? When is this statement true? When have I seen it be true? So let me ask, have you ever seen anybody set out to do something bad, and you can see it clearly that they're set out to do something bad, but they think they're being clever and they're hiding and no one notices? Like if you've ever been a parent, if you've ever raised children, you can tell when they're up to no good. And they think they're being all clever, and you can see it as clear as day. So this proverb is encouraging us to see where the temptation will lead you and then make a better choice. Don't eat from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Don't take the temptation. A blessed life is one that is united with God, that stays with God. Still with me? So how the book of Proverbs lays out is that for the first 9 chapters, there are these very big speeches. Some are from the father and the mother, some are from someone called Lady Wisdom. And within these chapters, there are little glimpses and little moments of Proverbs and teachings. But then chapter 10 to 31 is the bulk of the Proverbs. And I can't teach a full chapter of Proverbs at one time. It would be overwhelming because there's so many subjects that are being talked on. So I would encourage, Proverbs are designed for you to read and ponder just a few at a time, just 2 or 3, and to ponder them, chew them over, figure out the riddle. So over the next few months, I want to encourage us to read the book of Proverbs. Read chapter 10 to 31. Read 2 or 3 a day and just ponder their meaning. What I'm going to do on Sundays is talk through the first 9 chapters and highlight some of the big pieces that are going on in the book. Like the idea of a blessed life means that you are united with God. Next week, we'll look at what does the word wisdom mean. We'll talk about Lady Wisdom and Lady Folly. We'll talk about the fear of the Lord, just to help us understand how to look at Proverbs correctly and not misinterpret them, because there's beautiful ways that we can really get this wrong. So let me give you a few more examples on the same subject. You don't have to turn to this. In chapter 11 of Proverbs, it says, "The whole city celebrates when the godly succeed. They shout for joy when the wicked die." The whole city celebrates when the godly succeed. They shout for joy when the wicked die. So Hebrew prose often comes in parallel thought where one line comments on the other line. So have you ever seen a situation where people were glad that a particularly wicked person died? Yep. Have you ever seen a situation where people celebrated when somebody with godly character was moved into power of some kind? It's an interesting question. So if people are glad when wicked people die, like if the neighborhood is glad when wicked people die, and they celebrate when godly people lead, which person are you going to be? Are you going to be the wicked that people rejoice when you die? Or are you going to be the godly that they give thanks when you get power, when you get into leadership? And it doesn't tell you what to do. It just says these are the options. This is where it goes. If you pick the fruit on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, it goes this way. If you follow God, it goes that way. So it's calling us to reflect on ourselves. Let me give you another one. This is Proverbs chapter 11. Your kindness will reward you, but your cruelty will destroy you. Evil people get rich for the moment, but the reward of the godly will last. Godly people find life, evil people find death. The Lord detests people with crooked hearts, but he delights in those with integrity. So you can see that reading too many at a time just becomes overwhelming. Hey, it's like, I don't even know what you just said anymore. So you pick one. Your kindness will reward you. Your cruelty will destroy you. Have you ever seen cruelty destroy someone who is cruel? Have you ever seen someone's cruelty bring cruelty to themselves? Have you ever seen someone destroyed by their own cruelty? Yes. Or if not, have you ever seen anyone rewarded for their kindness? Yes. So in the moment when you have the choice to be cruel or kind, which would be better for you? And that's what Proverbs is doing, so that you just begin to think. So Proverbs aren't meant to condemn. They're meant to put the consequence of your choice ahead of you. This is where these two options go. What's going to be your choice? So that's that, giving the simple person who's undecided, and it's their time to decide if they're going to pick the fruit on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They can find out where the paths go before they have to make their decision. So at some point, you'll read a proverb and you'll think, that's not true. That's not how it works in real life. And at other points, you'll read a proverb and go, wait, I think that contradicts what I read earlier. Those are not mistakes. Those are intentional in the book of Proverbs. It's trying to tell you something more. And we're going to look at that in a few weeks. So I want to encourage you to read Proverbs this summer. Start in chapter 10. Read half a page in a day. They help us learn how to live a blessed life, which does not mean everything has gone really well all the time. It means a life dedicated to God, a holy life, a life that is in line with God and one with Him. And it addresses the, what does God want me to do kind of questions. They give insights to the simple. That means someone who is uncommitted to following God, the person who's easily influenced to go some other way. It helps them understand their decisions. It's like we're back in the garden with some attractive fruit that looks good to eat on the tree in front of us, and it's your turn. Will you eat the fruit? How do you know where a particular temptation, a particular way of living will lead? Proverbs with these short riddles tells you where they lead and what the normal results will be, so you can decide what you're going to choose. If a person follows Proverbs, they are also following the laws of God. Proverbs touch on the nuances that laws can't get to. If you want to learn how to live the way God, if you want to learn how to live God's way in everyday life. So, Proverbs, what catches your attention in the material that I've talked about, or even in the Proverbs we've read? What kind of catches your attention in this? Let's talk about it for a few minutes.
So I find it funny. Proverbs is actually one of my favorite books because I'm a bit of a weirdo, and I love user manuals. And so we've got the Ten Commandments, but I need the troubleshooting guide, and that's Proverbs.
Yes.
And so when something's going wrong, I tend to go to Proverbs or I go to Psalms to feel better.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm very excited about this summer.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I've been plowing through commentaries, so I have all of this sort of in my head right now. So I'm holding back one topic a week.
You opened by talking about blessing, being blessed. For most people looking at my life, didn't have a great childhood, 3 failed marriages, I was alienated from my kids mostly, going blind, mobility issues, but I'm blessed. God doesn't solve my problems for me. He walks with me through them and gives me all I need to deal with them. And that's partially what Proverbs does. It gives you prompts of how to deal with life.
Yep.
I have been able to avoid bitterness. I've got a good life, in my opinion, and I say I'm blessed.
Beautiful. That was great.
I think it's a neat way to think about that. Was an interesting introduction. We worked our way through the book of Proverbs a couple of years ago using a devotional. It took us quite a while because you're right, you only can digest a little piece at a time. Saying to Noreen, it's like biblical snack food. Just got little
Yes.
handfuls at a time.
That's a great way of saying it.
But I think someone pointed out a while ago, I was intrigued that Jesus, when you look at all the red words in a Bible that highlights what Jesus says, Jesus doesn't do a lot of saying, do this and don't do that. He does a fair amount of saying, this is how it is. Like a man can't serve 2 masters. He's going to love one and hate the other. He doesn't say, don't do it or do this differently. He just said, this is how it is. And it feels like Proverbs, like the way you're describing it, is similar to that. It's like, this is how life works. How do you want to play this? So just so you know that like you say, know the stakes before you place your bet. It's an interesting way to look at it.
It was good to hear those words again about money not really being the source of happiness. I know it's really hard, especially when you're not wealthy,
Yes.
to go through life watching the wealthy succeed. In the last almost 20 years now, we totally lived in God's hands, but we've primarily lived on disability income. And God's blessing to us, I thought that being young and being in a big company with lots of possibilities, with a small family, I did not think that the blessing of poverty would be ours. But truly, Jesus' words make so much more sense when you put them in that same context. Blessed are the poor. They are the ones who understand that step by step, God is the one providing. God is the one making the way through. And how that really points our hearts toward God. Or if we're stubborn, it points our hearts the other way. But when we allow God to soften our heart and not turn away from it, there really is a blessing in just the dependence. I'm not celebrating the effects of being poor because there are a lot of really hard things in life. Not just jealousy of, ooh, they have a bigger yard or they have a yard or they have a house. But this dependence on God that leads us into his love. It's really cool.
Yeah, I like how you said that. Nice.
Well, I couldn't be more excited about the possibility of going through the book of Proverbs, and here's why. I'm a few days away from finishing Psalms. I'm working my way through the Bible, and I was wondering, how is Proverbs going to work out? In a few days, I'm going to be knee-deep into Proverbs, and now I'm going to find out.
You're going to be knee-deep, all right. Let me offer a prayer then, and we'll close with a song, and then we'll eat some food. Father, Father, would you bless us with understanding and bless us with the ability to see what you have put in life and the teachings that you have put in Proverbs to help us understand life. And Lord, in this, would you continue to draw us to yourself, that we would know you, that we would be living life in step with you, and by that would be able to help others. Father, our world is scared. Our world is overwhelmed, and people are angry and frightened. And there just seems to be a sense of not knowing how life works, so let's try anything. Help us to be people who can help and bring hope and bring restoration to others as you work through our lives, because you're the one who does the work. Thank you for this morning and the blessing it has been. We love you. Amen.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today. New Life Ministries is located in Winnipeg, Manitoba. You are invited to join our service in person or over Zoom. Please use the Contact Us link to send an email to the church office and request the address or Zoom link. If you would like to use these podcasts as part of your home church or local church gathering, you are free to do so. We do request that you let us know. If there is any other way that we can help you in your ministry, please send us an email.